Hello again, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Inside the UBA, where we look at the league's South Division. Alongside Victor Howell, I'm Paul Crane. And Victor, one thing we've seen about the South Division of the UBA, it is airtight. These teams are so closely bunched.
Well, when you look at the excitement that the South Division brought to the UBA in Season 2, you're talking about the team that won the title in Season 1 and finding the team that had to beat the title in Season 1, both there. The competitive level was unbelievable in the South Division. Every time they took the floor, you know you were going to see competition, close games, and even when it looked like a blowout, just remember, there was still time left, and those games always seemed to come back down. It made for some great drama throughout Season 2.
Well, as we look at each of the teams in the South Division of the UBA, we'll start with the Pune Peshwas. Yes, the league is about bringing in new talent year after year, but for the Pune Peshwas, they had some familiar faces back in Season 2 from Season 1, starting with Mane, who averaged just under 12 points per game.
Great to see him once again get his game going. He can attack the basket for the Peshwas, but he also had that great outside shot. He was a floor general from there. Oh, but then you also had the Metas, Arjun Mehta. We saw a different style to his game. We saw him launching some threes at some point while the season was still in its Pune leg before they went to Hyderabad. He was very aggressive on the defensive end. Oh, did I mention defense? How about Ajinkya Mehta? What he did in rebounding. We saw his aggressiveness in Season 1. We saw it again in Season 2 in a different style. Ajinkya Mehta was coming off the bench. We kept thinking, was something wrong? They were just saving him up. He would come in the second half of games for his coach and his dad. And when we saw him on the floor, he changed the dynamic because he's so aggressive. He's not the biggest player, but he battled every big man on the floor.
And we saw the rebound there, and he does that so well. The two sons of the head coach, who has now since retired, Nandu Mehta and Ridhima Pathak, spoke with the Pune Peshwas.
Coach, what has been the biggest change for you between Season 1 and Season 2?
Season 1 for my team, like Pune Peshwas, we had all the boys basically from Pune, and they were trained by me for a long time. Now I have got some people who are from outsiders, right? They have been trained by some different coaches. For them to adopt my technique or for my boys to get in their technique is taking little time. You know, it takes time to gel. There's some problems, teething problems are always there. But we are coming over it. Like sometimes some ego problems are there, you can see. Or maybe some, superiority complexes are there. In my team previously, I never ever had a star player. Now I have a star player. So like for him to make up with these boys or these boys to accept him, no, it takes a little time. Now I believe it's come to reasonable, like even he's accepted these boys, the boys are accepting him. And I told them, okay, you have to accept, you have to play with each other if you have to play further up. So you have to adjust with each other.
Mane, you played for Season 1 as well. How has Season 2 been different from Season 1 for you?
Yeah, actually the exposure is pretty much better in the Season 2.
Okay.
Because at Season 1 we got less players, and now we are getting everyone, like the top players from the country is now involved in the Season 2. Okay. So competition is good.
And how do you see UBA promoting basketball in India?
Yeah, because this such a types of league never happened in India before. And they are taking the Indian players to the US for the coaching camp and all, and that is something which never happened in India. So I feel that this is the best thing happening for the basketball in India.
And what would you like to say about your team? How's the team coming along with Coach Mehta?
Yeah, our team is like, we all are playing like 8 or 9 members. We are playing together since 4-5 years.
Right.
And we are together playing for one team. So we know we had some tough times against Bengaluru in the starting matches. But now we are there, and I think, yeah, we'll definitely make it to the finals.
Right. And if I were to ask you some secrets about Coach Mehta that have not been shared before with us, would you share some secrets of Coach Mehta with us?
Actually, he's having good sense. Like you can see the today's match also, he used Karna. He never used Karna Mehta before, but he used him, and that shows. So he's having great sense of mind.
And Karna Mehta came off the bench, had one huge game in Season 2 in particular, but Nandu Mehta announced his retirement at the end of the playoff run, so the Pune Peshwas are about to get a new coach. But they also are going to get some new. They have some.
And I just mentioned I'm happy for him announcing retirement, but I'm sad because he was so great to us and so great to the UBA, and all the coaches have their different styles. You heard him mention the players have to adopt to him. You know what you love about him when he coaches? He coaches with his finger. He can get up. He can just and the players knew what that meant. It was his style, but just to watch him, he was so involved and so engaged with everything on the floor, and we certainly appreciate everything he did with us and for us, and when he was out there with the
He
UBA.
may not be coaching them, but he will be involved.
Absolutely.
And I was going to say
Absolutely.
we see new players every year, and certainly in season 2 we saw some really good ones. Narendra and Shinde, Victor, they were the top 2 scorers in the league.
Yeah, they made for the most dynamic backcourt in the UBA in season 2, and Narendra really showed what he could do by stretching the floor and his shooting. He was such a thrill to watch, and then all of a sudden he disappeared. But he disappeared for the right reason. He disappeared because he went off to get married, and he came back and still kept his scoring going. You can see him here step to the outside. He has a hand in his face. He can evaluate what's going on the floor and then still get the points done for the Peshwas. Look how he backs down, then takes it back from the corner to the top of the key, back on a spin move down in the paint. All sorts of different ways to score. But then when he left, they needed somebody else to be able to step up their game. And Paul, you mentioned it, Shinde was one of those players who was able to step up. They were so dynamic to watch with the way they were able to spread the scoring out for the Pune Peshwas.
Remember, Shinde scored 30 points in one of those games that Narendra was missing because of Narendra's wedding, and the Pune Peshwas did not miss a beat. Narendra and Shinde, 2 of the top newcomers to the league, and 2 of those who took time to speak with Ridhi.
UBA experience is great. I'm still learning professional basketball because, as I told you in my before interviews also, that we haven't played professional basketball as much. Like, we get a couple of tournaments in a year, that's it. And UBA gives us a lot of experience, and we get the special treatment from UBA which all players deserve in the country. And for me personally, UBA is a big thing, and I want to keep on playing it as I have my legs under me.
ये एक तो मैं पहली बार ही यूबीए खेल रहा हूँ, तो मेरे लिए बहुत ही अच्छा है ये सीजन, क्योंकि क्या रहता है कि बास्केट
I asked Narendra, well, he's had a fabulous season. In one of the games against Hyderabad, he had 39 points. So how's the season been like for him? And he said, it's the first time I'm playing in UBA, and it's been a great season for me. And more than anything, to play professional basketball is in itself an experience. I've been playing for the Indian team for the past 6 years. But this level of sport is something that he's experienced for the first time, so he's very grateful for that.
Teams always hope for consistency from their players and a performance on the floor. You got to the finals in the first season. You were that close to getting back to the finals in year 2. The Pune Peshwas have shown consistency throughout the UBA.
And they are the essence of a team as well. We still got more in the South Division. Up next, the Hyderabad Sky, who in many ways have become examples of what the UBA is working to build. We will be right back. Welcome back to this edition of Inside the UBA as we look at the league's South Division. Up next, the Hyderabad Sky, a mix of old players and new, and what a turnaround they had after opening 0-3, then winning 3 in a row, and Edwin was one of the big reasons
you said
why.
It. In season 2, Hyderabad as a team was the turnaround story within the season. Starting 0-3, couldn't find an identity on the floor. They were trying to find a way just to mesh on the floor. Then all of a sudden, the players started to step up, and with one of the new ones, one of the biggest ones. How about Big Edwin on the inside, the big dunk? He had it raining rupees there in Pune with the way he took his game to another level. He's one of the new players and one of the bigger players, but how about one of the old grizzled veterans? How about Nihal, what he did on the inside? He didn't have to start, he didn't need a lot of minutes, but you know what he brought? Fundamental basketball and leadership to the Hyderabad Sky. As they were starting to then turn things around from that 0-3 start, every time Nihal took the floor, it seemed like things started to go just a little bit better for the Hyderabad Sky. He wasn't forcing shots. He didn't need all the flashy highlights. He did the dirty work that nobody wants to talk about, but in the end, and you look up at the scoreboard and you had a W, it's a big reason why.
It always seemed to be in the right place at the right
doubt.
time. And one of the other big reasons was one of the newcomers, Mahesh Padmanabhan, the man from down under, as he grew up in Sydney, Australia. And Mahesh took time to speak with Ridhima Pathak.
Mahesh, you played in Australia where you grew up. What's the UBA experience been like?
It's been really good. It's been a great experience. I think culturally, India is just an amazing place to get involved in anything. I think once the crowd get behind a sport or anything in particular, I think it just takes off. So it's been a really good experience in that regard. It's also been good to come to an area where I think basketball probably hasn't been taught fundamentally that well, and really try and give as much input as I can and try and develop it from that aspect as well. So it's been a really good experience. Enjoyed it a lot.
And if I talk about your team's journey, which was Hyderabad, you guys had a slow start and then you guys got into momentum. What changed?
It's a funny sport, I think, basketball. I think all it takes is one little thing to click, and then you realize it doesn't take much to turn losses into wins. We started off slow, definitely. Team chemistry was a big thing. I think that was probably the biggest thing. And then we had a sit-down talk, and John and Jody, the directors of coaching, helped us out a little bit and gave us a bit more direction. And then everyone kind of bought in. And then once you start getting 1 win, 2 wins, just kind of carries on. And then everyone falls in love with that feeling of winning. So then together we just tried to get as many as we could. Unfortunately, a little bit short, but it's always season 3. So.
And how do you see India receiving professional basketball and your role in doing so?
Sure. No, I think it'll be received amazingly. Like I alluded to earlier, I think the people and the culture here in India is to really get behind something if it takes off. So hopefully it does. With regards to my role, I mean, I'm happy to do anything that it takes to make this sport grow, because I think that the fundamentals have been done with season 1 and season 2. And we've got a good platform now, so I'm happy to do whatever it takes to make this into a full-time job for all of these talented players out here, so yeah.
And if I were to ask you your favorite moments from this season, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know, tough to say. Probably can't go past the second overtime against Pune.
Okay.
I was firing a little bit, I felt good, so that's probably a highlight for me of the whole tournament.
It was one game.
Yeah, it was one game, that's right.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mahit.
Thank you.
You heard him talk about the development of fundamentals there in the game. He brings such great talent from having international experience to the Hyderabad Sky. It was fun to watch him on the floor. He really was that team's coach on the floor when they weren't in a timeout. It was great to see him get the players behind him, and we look for bigger and better things in season 3.
And what a night he had in that double overtime win
indeed.
over Pune, 10 in the second overtime alone. We're not done yet with the South Division. The Chennai Slam still ahead, but up next, the Bengaluru Beast. Another example of how the UBA is working to change basketball in India. Welcome back as we get ready to look at the Bengaluru Beast of the UBA South Division. And Victor, we talk about one of the ways the UBA is changing basketball in India. Well, the head coach of the Bengaluru Beast is Prasanna, one of the great names in Indian women's basketball history.
One of 2 female coaches in the UBA in season 2. And we talked earlier about Coach Mehta for the Pune Peshwas. He coached with his finger. She coached with the look. She had that intense look in her eyes. She had a great mixture of veteran players and some new players, but the intensity that she brought, and when she talked and when she stared, the players from the Bengaluru Beast listened because they know she's got a wealth of knowledge.
No question about that. What she also has is a number of players on the Bengaluru team that played there at Jain University, including teammates Kef Zia and Visu Palani, a newcomer to the UBA. Visu was a thief in terms of leading the league in steals, but he also averaged over 10 points per game. And Kef Zia, we know that what he is able to do and how much he likes having his former college teammate with him now in the pros. Kef Zia averaged just under 13 points per game during the regular season. He scored 27 in the play-in game, his one playoff game, and Kef Zia and Visu Palani are 2 of those that make the Bengaluru Beast not only special, but very Bengaluru.
And one thing that we did enjoy watching Kef as his game developed is he's a veteran, was there in season 1 for the UBA, but between season 1 and season 2, he was one of those handful of players that made the trek from India to the United States for that off-season, very hard-working, regimented training session, and we really saw him elevated. The reports from that training session, he was one of those players that took it so seriously.
Oh, yes.
He really wanted to work on elevating his game, and we saw that in season 2.
And he and Visu took time to speak with Ridhima Pathak.
Kev, how has the season been like, especially after the pro training camp in Phoenix?
It's been great for me. There are a lot of changes in my own game which I've recognized, which actually helped me, build a better game than what I had last time.
Right.
So this camp, which was held in Phoenix, which it taught me way more than what I expected, because the training is so different than what we train usually over here back in India, which makes no sense. what I did all this while.
Right.
But whatever, like I went and I trained over there in the camp with a lot of guys and lot of the better coaches with better facilities and all that. I think it helps a lot to the players to learn what they actually didn't know that they could do.
Right.
So I know now like what I could do which I couldn't before.
You got 6 new players in your team. How is the chemistry coming along?
I think everyone's gelling up very well in our team, and I think no one has any problem with their own game. Whatever they have, they respect each other, and I think it's a great team with great players. I think they're pretty disciplined with the other thing. They support each other. I think that's what a team needs. Yeah.
Tell me something about your coach. We've got a female coach, Prasanna.
I think she's great. She's really great at what she does. She's pretty dedicated to whatever she's doing, and she motivates most of the players, which is well needed in all the games and all that. I think people might take her lightly thinking she's a female coach something, but I think she's pretty great coach to me, and she's taught a lot to us in this small camp which held in Bangalore JRS, the selection, and yeah, I think we are lucky that we got a coach like that.
Visu, what does playing for the UBA and playing for the Beasts mean to you?
Playing for UBA is like amazing. The first time I'm playing for a professional team, and UBA is doing a great job in India. It's like a basketball festival happening in India.
Right.
So it's happening for the first time. So we are so happy to enjoy it.
You mentioned your coach. You have a female coach. So how does that work? How is Prasanna for you guys?
Okay, first time I've been training under the female coach, and ma'am is just amazing. She is more than a guy. Like her training, everything is amazing.
Prasanna and the Beast did a very good job, and of course bringing in new players, that's part of what the UBA is all about, and we saw a great mixture on the Bengaluru Beast, both down low and on the outside, starting with one of the biggest players in the league, 6'9" Samveer.
Huge presence on the inside of the Bengaluru Beast to really establish that inside game, and then could open it up for some of the other players who want to drive the basket or shoot from the outside. But at 6'9", certainly a force that had to be reckoned with. Seemed kind of debating whether or not to take that outside shot. Nice shot from the outside to be able to hit it, but could really dominate in the paint as he averaged 14 points a game. And how about Manpreet as well, getting the job done on the inside. Had a season-high 20 one of his games, averaged just over 12 points a ball game. And then there's Ragaram from the outside, 17 a game, had a season-high 30. One of the few players that went north of 29 or 30 points in one of those big games. But again, Paul, it goes to what you're saying, a balance of inside game, outside game. And what happens is you shoot well from the outside, it opens up the lanes on the inside. If you're a power game on the inside, the defense sags, it opens up on the outside. It was a great balance for the Bengaluru Beast.
And Ragaram in particular was one of those that found his way to the basket. He was able to cut through traffic and move with the ball so very, very well. Well, up next, we're not done yet. One team in the South Division who's used to being at the top. We look at the Chennai Slam when we come back. Welcome back. One team left for us to look at in the UBA South Division, and that's the Chennai Slam. And Victor, this is a team that's used to being at or near the top. It's also a team that did have several newcomers, but it also had several players who played key roles in coming back after season 1 and the championship, including Victor, one who made his way to the UBA Pro Training Camp in Phoenix, Arizona. That would be Ram Kumar. He can still shoot lights out when you give him a chance.
During the Pune leg of season 2, I said he might be my X factor for this team to get to the finals, because we saw him do it in season 1. He did it again early in season 2. How about in game 3 against the Punjab Steelers? He had 5 threes, including 4 in the second quarter alone. But then his offense sort of disappeared a little bit. But when it did, no problem. Cammy picked up the pace. He had 27 in game 3 of the semifinals. Oh, and then when he doesn't slow down, you've got Agu. And you never describe Agu with the word slow. No. Everything he does is fast. One of the fastest players, one of the most gifted athletes in all of the UBA. His speed, his outside shooting, his quickness can turn things around for the Chennai Slam, both offensively and defensively. One of the highlight players to watch in the UBA.
And you referenced Cammy's huge game in the semifinals. Agu really elevated his game throughout the postseason in particular. 2 of the reasons why the Slam were able to get back to the championship finals, and 2 players who spoke with Ridhima Pathak.
Agu, you played in season 1 as well. How much has the league changed between season 1 and season 2?
The team got better players, and playing in Pune was a little bit difficult because of the weather and the atmosphere was different.
Right.
But coming down here, it's just like we're coming back home because we won here. So the whole spirit of winning is here. So we're doing better now compared to season 1 and compared to Pune.
And how has the league helped you in your game?
It keeps me on my feet. I always practice now, and I know I expect a lot of defense, so I try to do something that is, something that people don't know. So I try to improvise every minute to be better, and I practice very hard.
Well, we can totally see that because your speed definitely contributes to your excellent defense play. Do you ever amaze your own self with that kind of play?
No, I always felt that I could do better. So I work hard and try to push myself, even when I'm tired, even when I'm jumping so high, I still want to jump higher. So that is what I feel like I do.
How is the league different from season 1 this time?
Season 1 and season 2 is like we have more equipment. I mean, we have more coaches this season. We have more players included, and I feel like really enough fun to play with these guys in the second season.
And if I were to ask you, how has UBA improved your game?
My game, it changed my life even, like not the real life, so that I could make my decisions in reality is like simple for me when I play in this league.
Cammy was one of those players that's so much fun to watch because Agu gets a lot of headlines because of his speed, because of his agility. Cammy's one of those quiet types that you sit back and all of a sudden you look at the box score. He's got 16 points. He's got 18 points. You just see his game come up and elevate, and it's that kind of consistency, which is why the Chennai Slam have consistently found themselves in the finals for fighting for a UBA championship because of players like Cammy.
Accepting his role also and taking advantage of the opportunities when they come about. But there were several new players that helped the Chennai Slam get back to the championship finals, including one of the big guys who made a difference down low. That's Big Gopal. The 32-year-old was outstanding in the postseason.
And he sure was, and he knows his role. He likes to be down inside the paint. He uses that size to his advantage, keeps the ball up high, and can power his way to the basket. It gives the Chennai Slam a big inside-outside game.
And Arjun GK is another of those newcomers. He really picked things up in the second half of the season. And then Ashutosh. We saw him in the opener score 27. He remained consistent throughout. And Ashutosh, coming in from services, was able to have his first season in the UBA be a good one. And he is one of those who also took time to speak with Ridhi.
What does this whole UBA experience mean to you?
It is really a very good experience for me. UBA is working a lot for promoting players, young players as well as they are also calling department players like us. They are calling us and they're promoting this basketball game.
And since you mentioned the players, your team has one of the finest players of the league. It's got some really talented players. How's that coming along?
But actually, most of us are from different departments. We are using play together, and we had our combination. But we are lacking a bit in defense only. That we will work out for our next match. And from today's match, we learned what we are lacking in, and we will surely work on that.
All right. And if I were to ask you, what are your favorite moments from this season? What would it be?
Favorite moments. Promotion of UBA like this, I'm really very proud to play for play like this in India. It is only this type of atmosphere is only outside India, and this is we are really lucky to play for UBA.
And we are lucky to watch teams like the Chennai Slam. The UBA South Division, very little has separated top to bottom over the years, and we look forward to watching these teams as we move forward. Now for Victor Howell and everyone who worked on this one, I'm Paul Crane. We thank you for watching, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time on Inside the UBA.